I'm a little bit late in covering this ship, but as of today, June 25th, 2025, it's still available for purchase in the store under the Age of Battles tab, Battle of Jutland, Tier 4 British Battleship Indefatigable, which I think is actually a fantastic Tier 4 premium. Initially, when I was playing it for the first 10 or so matches, I was almost wondering if it's a similar story to Giulio Cesare, just a ship that's very powerful for the tier. Alas, I'm not entirely convinced on that, but if you're in the market for a Tier 4 premium, this one is pretty good. It's got a lot going for it. We'll run down the stats, of course. I wanted to cover this ship a lot earlier, but every match I've played in it, except for this one, in Tier 4, has been a boring, one-sided blowout that didn't really show off the ship very well. This, however, this match, I think, is going to show the carry potential of the Indefatigable. So as we approach the Alpha Cap, I'll show you my commander build. It's John Fisher. I don't know if it's 100% optimal for this ship, but I think it certainly works. And of course, the stats that I read to you are going to be influenced by this build. It's also a free-to-play build for what that's worth. Now, to begin with, the survivability. Shouldn't expect much here for a Tier 4 battleship. 45,890 HP with this build and a tiny little 5% torpedo damage reduction. So torpedoes can really hurt if you take them in this ship. However, the armor, like many Tier 4 battleships, is pretty absurd. It does have an overmatchable bow, technically, but it's also got a 64mm icebreaker, and the side armor is going to be bouncing any battleship shells that you're going to encounter. On top of that, the Citadel is kind of underwater, so it may be a little bit more difficult to hit. But if you do take damage, the Indefatigable has the unique gimmick of having basically a super heal at Tier 4. It's not quite as potent as higher tier super heals, but it restores 792 HP per second for a duration of 20 seconds. You get 2 base, but if you've got the Master Mechanic skill, you can add another 2 for a total of 4. I don't think you'll be using the full healing potential if you do. It doesn't seem like it heals penetration damage or torpedo damage that much better than a conventional heal does. I think we'll take quite a bit of damage in this match, and you'll see various points, like when we take a lot of fire damage, you'll see that the heal is quite effective, and if we take any torpedo or shell penetration damage, it's a little bit less effective. We've also got seal clubbers to deal with in the form of this Iwaki being driven by the ghost of Tebel. Now, the guns on this ship, as you saw against the Iwaki and against the Congo a little earlier, we got a fairly good salvo there of 9K to kick things off. We've got 8 305mm guns set in 4 double turrets with really weird firing angles. Most of the time you get 3 of them on target. You can get all 4, and you can Citadel cruisers too. You can get all 4 on target, but you have to give an awful amount of broadside, and that's due to the rather obsolete turret placement that you find on a World War I era hull, like the Indefatigables. The guns, well, they're alright. They've got a firing range of 17.2 kilometers, which seems pretty long for Tier 4. They've also got a reload time of 26.6 seconds, so quick reloading, 36.4 second turret traverse, 5,000 alpha on the HE shells with a 34% fire chance, and 9,000 alpha on the AP. I've noticed that these guns tend to shatter from time to time on heavily armored ships, and they're most effective, at least the AP is, versus cruisers, but that doesn't mean they can't do good battleship damage. That Congo there, you get a taste of maybe how little damage the guns sometimes do. Suppose you could switch to HE, but the fire chance is not all that impressive, and the AP works well enough. This thing also has torpedoes. You'll see us attempt to use said torpedoes in this battle and completely fail. That's alright though, because these torpedoes suck. You might as well ignore them. There are only 2. one launcher on either side of the ship, underwater in the rear. They have terrible firing angles backward. They have terrible firing angles forward. They are as close to unusable as you can get. They do reload in 95 seconds, which is fairly quick. They've got a 6.4 kilometer range and a slow speed of 53 knots. But even if you could make use of them regularly, which you absolutely should not try to do because the firing angles are, again, terrible. There's our first kill of the game there, by the way, against the Seal Clubbing Iwaki. But even if you could use them, the maximum damage that these torpedoes do is a mere 8,800. And I don't think many ships down at Tier 4 have great torpedo damage reduction, but even a little bit to cut down that 8.8k, you're not going to be getting too much damage out of these things at all. If you look at the stats page, the aggregate torpedo rating is 2. They are not good. Just pretend they don't exist, is my advice. Likewise, the anti-aircraft firepower is not good. We're going to be tortured by the CV at various points in this battle. Already have been. We've got a 16 aggregate AA defense rating, and the maximum average damage per second that these AA guns do comes from the 40 millimeter AA guns, of which there are 6, and they do average DPS of 34. So, yeah, not a lot of firepower there in the AA. However, the maneuverability characteristics of this Tier 4 battleship are excellent. This is the part of the ship that reminds me the most of the Giulio Cesare. We've got a fantastic 28-knot top speed. That's really fast for Tier 4 battleship standards. We've also got an absurd 630 millimeter turning circle and an 11.2 second rudder shift. Those are fantastic. As for the concealment, well, we do have Kondo as one inspiration, so we're enjoying an 11.7 kilometer detectability by sea, which is directly going to help us win this game later on. So those are the stats of the ship. It's pretty good. If you're going to buy any Tier 4 battleship in the game, this one and Giulio Cesare, I think they'd be my top recommendations. As for this battle, it's not gone especially well for the blue team. We've lost 4 ships. Enemy team has lost 3, so they're ahead of us on kills. But we do have the Bravo cap secured. And, well, it doesn't look like anybody's going to be threatening that cap anytime soon. The Wyoming is attempting to take the Alpha cap. And at this point, he's the only one here on this side of the map. The Congo that was hanging around earlier has gone all the way to the other side, along with the 2 enemy destroyers, the cruiser, and the aircraft carrier. They're putting all of their ships in one place on the map, which I've always said is a bad thing to do, and they are going to pay for it. We're going to make them pay. However, we need to deal with the Wyoming first. And so we are going to initiate a drive-by. You can see how tanky this ship is, by the way, as we engage this Wyoming. Yes, we've lost a lot of damage. We've healed quite a bit of it back, though. And wow, look at these torpedo arming distances. Well, we launch a torpedo, and it doesn't even have time to arm. It's one of those squiggly torps, too. So ultimately, it does no damage against the Wyoming. It might have killed him if it did. But we've also got the friendly destroyer coming in. We've got one more torpedo left to go. We're not going to need it, though. Main battery gun will be enough to finish off the Wyoming. You might have noticed, and I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the accuracy on these main battery guns, to me, seems fantastic, especially for a Tier 4 battleship. Sometimes these things are pinpoint accurate. They just might not have the best pen in the world when it comes to AP. And if you want another example of how pinpoint accurate they can be, well, we've got this Maestrale out there, destroyer, 12.4, 12.3 kilometers away, and we're able to hit him with 2 out of 4 shells that we send his way. High caliber metal, do a little bit of damage to him, 90,000 damage done, pretty good for Tier 4 battleships. We're going to secure the Alpha cap. That's going to set up the win conditions for the blue team. We've got both A and B secured at this point. Enemy team is about to take Charlie, and the Maestrale is caught between like 3 ships. We're shooting at him from all the way downtown. We switched to HE for the first time in this battle. The results are pretty effective with 3 pens against the Maestrale. Not quite enough to take him out, but our teammates should be able to handle that. There's 2 battleships, I think, that are shooting at him. So we're going to switch back to AP in anticipation of being able to shoot at the cruiser that is pushing toward Bravo. There goes the enemy destroyer, and the cruiser is Königsberg. He is a pretty good cruiser for Tier 4. That was always a great cruiser back in the day, but like most Tier 4, well, all Tier 4 cruisers, he's got no armor. So these guns should be pretty good, especially if we get some nice accurate salvos. The only ships left are the Congo, the Königsberg, and the destroyer, along with the carrier. We are ahead by 1 ship, and we are ahead by a massive amount of points. We've been able to help swing the tide or turn the tide in this battle. Need to be careful of the enemy DD approaching. He is going to be perma-spotting us, which is not ideal. We want him off the board along with the Königsberg. The Congo is way out there near the map border or near the CV. If we're not spotted by either the destroyer or the cruiser, then we'll be able to have more control over the engagement, which we're going to need. We're going to deploy one of these super heals. You can see we're not using it to its full potential. Maybe should have held off on that as it's our last one. But we deploy it there, and that's that. In retrospect, I think I probably should have held on to it because this Congo can still do a number to us, along with the Königsberg, who we do not want to push into. He's come around that island. He is, of course, armed with torpedoes, being a German cruiser, and I believe they have a 6 km range. So we certainly don't want to be pushing into him and make it easier for him to hit us with torpedoes. Although if we give him flat broadside like we're doing, his AP, I think, can get full pens on our armor. But of course, he's a cruiser, so he gets Citadel, goes down for our 2nd kill of the game. There's his torpedoes, but the excellent maneuverability of Indefatigable is going to save us from taking a torpedo. It's also going to drive us straight into the island, where we're still perma-spotted by the Cyclone over here. Only 3,500 HP left. We open up on the Cyclone to take him out. Didn't need to, though. The friendly destroyer torpedoes him, and just like that, it's only the Congo and the enemy CV left. But if this Congo gets 1 good hit on us, we're back to port. Looks like the enemy DD did launch some torpedoes, but we're going to be able to dodge them as the Congo gets some rather poor RNG and doesn't end up taking us out. Meanwhile, the enemy CV is thankfully focused on the friendly battleship over there south of Charlie. If he decided to focus us, there would be literally nothing we could do, and he'd just be able to sink us with impunity. But we get lucky in having that battleship alive, so we're going to be able to live a bit longer and get back to the heel. By the way, I don't think I've mentioned this, but I probably should. The super heal, I say that in quotation marks because it's a super heal by Tier 4 standards, but of course that's very powerful for this tier, so there is something to offset that amount of power, which is the incredibly long reload time on the heal. It's 120 seconds, or 2 minutes exactly. Much, much longer than the typical battleship heal, but that's the trade-off you get for having an improved heal like this. And you can see we're able to reacquire quite a bit of HP, get us back up to about 10k, which is going to help us survive against the Congo. And once again, you know, the concealment coming in handy. We're able to better control the engagement by being able to go dark at a better distance than the Congo can. And so we can save our HP and make sure that we don't actually get killed by the guy. He's got no HP left himself. Salvo is out. But again, you know, these guns, there's 2 non-penetrations, 1 ricochet. As I said, the pen isn't the best ever, but the reload time is quick and the accuracy is good. I'd say that mostly makes up for it. Also, everything at this tier has such low armor values on the bow and the stern that 305mm guns, I'm pretty sure, can overmatch the Congo's bow. They certainly could with the Wyoming a little bit earlier. In any case, another ricochet off the Congo, 1 more salvo out from the guns, accuracy not looking great, overpen for 900 damage, not quite enough to take out Congo, but this salvo from the rear turret should do the trick, provided that the accuracy is good. Not from that gun, but it's enough to take him out. 66 HP left. That's our third kill of the game. The carrier is still alive, but he's not going to be able to take all three of us down before the battle ends. So we win, and I think we contribute positively to turning the tide in HMS Indefatigable, Tier 4 British Battleship Extraordinaire. I think I would highly recommend this one. I've honestly had a lot of fun with it. 2600 base XP and 4 kills. Not quite a Kraken to put the cherry on top, but I'd say a really good result for a Tier 4 battleship. Dreadnought medal and high caliber to go on top of all that. Hope you enjoyed the video. You still got a couple days left to get Indefatigable from the store if you want. I think it's 6,250 doubloons. A little bit expensive, but not as expensive as the higher tier ships. Give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.